Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City of Alameda Mayor's Town Hall. I'm Sarah Henry, the city's Public Information Officer. Joining us today to talk about homelessness in Alameda are Amanda Gurkey and Anna Bagtas from the city's Community Development Department, Captain Matt McMullen and Officer Pete Larson from Alameda Police Department, and Joey Harrison from Village of Love. Please note that all participants have been muted. To submit a question for the mayor or any of our guests, please use the chat feature. All of our town halls are recorded and available on the city's website and on our YouTube channel. I'd now like to turn today's town hall over to Mayor Marilyn Ezzy Ashcraft.
Thank you, Sarah, and I want to thank all of our wonderful guests for joining us today and sharing your wisdom and knowledge and answering questions with our audience. Thank you to all of you residents, businesses, members of the public for joining us today. So today we are tackling the very important, crucial topic of homelessness, housing. What do we do about homelessness? What are we doing about it now in Alameda? What are we doing about it in the future? How do developments at both the state and federal level impact what we are able to do in Alameda? And homelessness is probably one of the top topics in my inbox of my emails, and it is a complex topic that covers very many, or intersects with a lot of other areas like mental health issues and substance abuse and a lack of housing. So many intersecting areas that have to all be dealt with simultaneously. But fortunately, here in Alameda, we have been working on this for some time now. I am so hopeful with the new administration in Washington, D.C., that we're going to get more support that is badly needed. But I want to just turn this program over now to the subject matter experts who are going to tell you what they're doing, answer your questions, and we look forward to hearing from you, making you as well informed as possible about what's happening in your city around this important topic. We're going to start with Amanda Gurkey from our Community Development Department. Amanda is, like everyone else, but she's just an invaluable asset on the area of homelessness. She's also got a hard stop at 12:30 because she's got to get to her next engagement. So we're going to put her top of the queue. If you think of questions for Ms. Amanda as she's speaking, type them in, specify it's for Amanda, type them into the chat box, and we'll do our best to get those questions answered before she has to leave. So with that, welcome, Amanda. Thanks for everything you do, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Well, thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor said, my name is Amanda Gurkey. I'm with the Community Development Department of the City of Alameda, and I'm going to be managing the creation of our new homelessness strategic plan. So this is a 5-year plan, and with kind of the goal of creating a community-wide vision and roadmap for reducing and preventing homelessness in Alameda and providing services to our unhoused residents. So we've engaged with a consultant to help us with this plan, organization called Home Base. They're a nonprofit consultant group located here in the Bay Area, but they work nationwide on providing technical assistance for plans like this. And they've also worked a lot here in Alameda County as well. So I was going to share with you all the website for the project, which is a great resource on how to get involved and a little bit about how it's going to work. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is the homepage for the strategic planning process, and I can put this as a link into the chat. And there's a few key things that I want to draw people's attention to. First, we have the mailing list here. So we're going to be sending out updates on how the strategic planning process is going, opportunities for folks to get involved. So this is going to be a key, if this is something you're interested in following and joining in on, this is going to be really important to sign up for. And then I also wanted to call out the registration for our community kickoff meeting, which is going to be held this Monday at 6:30 over Zoom. This will be the first of several opportunities to provide input, but if you are able to attend, we really encourage you to sign up here, and I can also drop this link in the chat. Also on this website, if there are any questions that don't get answered today, is my contact information. So you can always reach out to me with any questions that you have. And then otherwise on the website, we have a little bit of background information about homelessness in Alameda. I won't go into this too much here, except to say that it is on the rise, and especially in the advent of COVID, we're expecting to see a pretty big impact on our homeless population. So it's something we're definitely thinking about. And then I wanted to call out here, if you or someone you know is currently homeless or at risk of becoming homeless, I would highly recommend the Alameda Homeless Hotline, which is 510-522-HOME. Again, that's 510-522-HOME. This is a place you can contact for services. It's available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Of course, these needs don't always occur Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if you do need assistance outside those hours, you can call 211. So just wanted to shine a light on that while we're here. So we'd already talked about the ways to get involved. One upcoming way that I just wanted to get on people's radar is, in addition to the mailing list and our community meeting, we're also going to be launching a community survey next week. So that will go out to our mailing list, and we're also going to post it here on the website. And then finally, there's just some background documents here for folks who are interested in learning a bit more. We're going to be posting here regular updates, information about our steering committee, and then information about the schedule for the plan. And just so you all know what that schedule looks like, we're kicking off now in January. We're planning to bring some preliminary findings to the City Council in April, and then hoping to bring a final plan to City Council for approval in August. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen, and I'm happy to answer any questions that folks have.
Okay, and I think I misspoke when I said Amanda had to leave at 12:30. Usually my town hall start at noon, but today I was listening to the State of the Port of Oakland address from 12 to 1, so we started a little late. Amanda has to leave by 1:30. Sarah, do we have any questions yet for Amanda?
I have not gotten any questions in yet about the strategic plan, so I will definitely pop in and let you know if some come in before 1:30, but I think, yeah, we can keep things moving.
All right, well, thank you, Amanda, for that information. And I hope a lot of you will join us on Monday for the kickoff of this strategic plan. So next I want to go to two of our members of the Alameda Police Department who are often the first interface with homeless individuals, either when they're called or when they're out and about on their patrols. And they're very experienced and know well, probably most if not all members of our unsheltered population in Alameda. So it is with pleasure that I introduce to you Captain Matt McMullen and Officer Pete Larson from Alameda Police Department, who are going to share some of their perspectives. So Captain McMullen, Officer Larson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate it. And I am sincerely grateful for the opportunity to be present today as we discuss the critical issue of homelessness in Alameda and in the greater region. In my academic pursuits, especially over the past 6 years, I've been grateful for the opportunity to be a member of several police leadership groups. One such group is called the Police Executive Research Forum, which I typically abbreviate as PERF. This nonprofit organization, founded in 1976, serves as a policy and research organization and a provider of management services through the executive level education. And over the last two decades of my service, the nature of homelessness hasn't changed much. However, our police response to those experiencing homelessness is drastically different than in times past. In 2018, PERF held a conference in Long Beach, California on the homelessness crisis and found that 72% of medium-sized police agencies reported an increase in homelessness in their communities, which Amanda eloquently stated earlier. What I have learned from the conference report findings rings true in Alameda, which is that making arrest is not the most nor the effective response to the homelessness crisis. With that said, in 2020, of the 933 arrests made by Alameda Police Department personnel, 270 of those arrests, people listed their home address as transient. That information is not completely precise, as some arrestees are dishonest about their living situations to hide their true address from the police. Doing some quick math based on the nuanced information, roughly about 29% of the total arrests in Alameda or arrestees identified themselves as those experiencing homelessness. The Alameda Police Department has made great strides to transform into an organization that values innovative solutions, embraces multifaceted approaches in collaboration with social services, nonprofits, and other partners such as those wonderful organizations represented at this meeting. Law enforcement alone cannot and should not be tasked with solving the challenges homelessness communities face. However, we do embrace the problem-solving approach. We have wonderful homeless liaison outreach program, which includes Officer Larson and a sergeant, and we try our best to closely work with numerous groups for collaborative problem solving. We're currently looking at exploring how to solidify stronger regional law enforcement partnerships in a coordinated fashion to better serve our homeless communities, coordinate with the City of Alameda City's Attorney's Office to prosecute ongoing community safety involved crimes, and evaluate what we're doing, what is working, and where we can improve. I sincerely look forward to building upon our strong community partnerships to safely and effectively meet the needs of those who live, work, and play in this beautiful East Bay city. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Officer Larson, our homeless liaison representative, who does a tremendous job sacrificing his time, talents, and energy for the betterment of the community. Officer Larson.
Officer Larson, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. I kind of wear two hats in the department right now. I'm the Alameda Housing Authority liaison officer, but then I'm also the homeless liaison officer. And I've been doing this for going on a year now. And I've been pretty successful, I think, at making a good network with the homeless people who are on the street, getting to know their background. And while there will always be a natural bit of skepticism when dealing with the police, I think for the most part, the homeless population that I interact with have some level of trust with me, and they know that my primary goal is to provide them resources and to help them with whatever situation that they're in, or to steer them away from situations which may not be good for their long-term health. So it's been a really rewarding experience. I feel like the nonprofits that the city has partnered with, and Anna can talk more about that, have been really, really instrumental in making a huge impact for the city. And since COVID, I've been just astonished at how many people who were homeless on our streets here in Alameda have been moved to some sort of transitional housing or given opportunities to get off the streets. It's really been amazing. And I think I've heard that in some city meetings and even in some of the recent steering committee recommendations, that Oakland and San Francisco were looked to for models as examples to follow. And I think actually Alameda would be a city for other cities to follow, because we're doing such a fantastic job here, and Anna has done a great job coordinating that end of it. And I'm just, on the law enforcement end, but I'm feet on the ground, and I have a pretty good pulse on usually what's going on around the camp. And they talk to me throughout town. So I'm happy to help out people and educate the public too. That's another big part of it too. As you know, we get a lot of calls for service from people about homelessness, people sleeping in cars, and a lot of it has to do with community education or re-education, kind of explaining that homelessness isn't a crime. And but at the same time, those calls for service do provide an opportunity for me to plug those people in with the right resources, such as Building Futures or Operation Dignity. And so I think that Alameda is doing a great job, and they're moving in the right direction.
Thanks, Officer Larson. We appreciate your comments, and Captain McMullins. Now I'm going to go over to Anna Bagtes from our Community Development Department, and also Joey Harrison from Village of Love, which is one of the nonprofits that the City of Alameda partners with. And I'd love for both of you to tell us a little bit about what's happening, what's in store. Anna, why don't you tee it up, and then Joey, be ready to chime in, because there's some great information you can both share. So please, Anna first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for inviting me to this town hall meeting today. And Officer Larson is very humble about his connection with the homeless. I can tell you, being out in the field with him and seeing how much trust our homeless population have on him by talking to him, that builds a lot of that kind of trust building takes sometimes years. And you have to pry them off of Officer Larson, because I just want to tell them everything, all their problems. So I'm kudos to all the work that you do, and it's been a great partnership with the homeless liaison officers and APD, and of course our community-based organization. We could not do this alone. It really takes a village to address this kind of, really sometimes daunting issue, daunting task. So just really quickly, and I'm going to have Joey talk about very specific programs. I'm going to sort of talk high level. And if I can share my screen really quick. Sarah, I have it if you don't have it.
Sarah can make it happen.
Yeah, you can share
I'm
your screen,
clueless.
Anna.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it's happening.
Great. So just way of background, we have our official count of the homeless population from our 2019 point in time count, which is done every 2 years. This official counting is 231 people, and that's 2 years ago. That was a 13% increase from the prior point in time count, which was done in 2017. I can tell you that number has dramatically increased. Recently, as we were going through our client population, we were trying to decide which ones are the most vulnerable because of COVID. We determined there are about 224 unduplicated, unhoused individuals in Alameda. So the reason why I'm telling you that it's higher than 231 is because of the 231 people that was officially counted, only 132 were deemed unhoused, meaning like they're on the streets. We have determined, recently we have 224 unhoused. They're living on the streets in their vehicles. So we know that number is really significantly higher. 2 years ago, through the efforts of the Community Development Department, the Housing Authority, as well as the Social Service Human Relations Board, which reports directly to our City Council, there was a report that was done called the Homeless Report, and that was done in two years ago, 2018. And there were 4 policy areas, policy recommendations with specific programs and services that fall in these recommendations. So fast forward 2 years later. So we have about 20 programs now in Alameda that fall into that policy area number 1 recommendation to provide services for our homeless individuals. And Joey is going to talk a little bit about some of those programs that they're providing through Village of Love. And in policy area number 2, we should have a temporary shelter to address homeless. We have the FEMA trailers, 4 FEMA trailers right here at Alameda Point that's housing individuals who are very vulnerable to getting COVID because of their health condition or their seniors. And then in policy area number 3 and 4, we have permanent housing and local code and policies that are really going to be in the pipeline in the next 2 to 5 years, such as the Eden Housing, the Alameda Point Collaborative Health and Wellness Center, the North Housing, and the Reshape. That's going to move some folks into some kind of a permanent housing situation. Just to give you a sample of the different programs the 20 programs that I mentioned, we have day center, de-escalation training, flexible account for people who are experiencing homelessness and those who are at risk of becoming homeless, subsidies for rental assistance to prevent, again, people from becoming homeless. Street outreach, very, very critical. And this is where we work with APD and the homeless liaison officers. as well as our outreach team with Operation Dignity and Building Futures. And we're one of the few cities in Alameda County that actually has a coordinated outreach team that meets every 2 weeks. And that's where we go into the case conferencing, really looking at individuals, following individuals and looking for individuals if we're very concerned about that. And again, with Alameda Police Department's homeless liaison officers and our community-based partners being part of that. And we have release of information from clients to be able to talk about the cases. So what's next? We need to sustain these programs that were created. A lot of them are funded through our Homeless Emergency Aid Program, which is ending at the end of March. So we're looking for ways to really continue these programs. And then we also need to explore more this temporary housing option, because we do, as you saw, we have some permanent housing solutions that are going to come into the pipeline in 2 to 5 years. But we need something to get people off the streets and encampments into some kind of a temporary or bridge housing, so that we can then work on trying to move them into other permanent solutions. And you heard from Amanda Gurkey about developing this homeless strategic plan, so that we can really plan 4 or 5 years out to address homelessness. And I'm going to hold my questions. I'm going to turn it over to Joey Harrison from Village of Love to talk about very specific programs, a few programs that are listed on the programs that I had on the screen earlier.
Thank you, Anna. And thank you, Anna. Welcome, Joey. And yeah, perfect, Sarah, to stop the screen share. Okay. Joey Harrison has wonderful information to share with us. Please, the floor is yours, Joey.
Thank you so much for having me, Mayor. Tell you a little bit about the programs. So I am the executive director of the Village of Love. There we have the day center where our unsheltered do come, and we actually have a shuttle that picks them up and brings them to the location. And there we provide lunches. We have lots of donated clothes that we provide. We have a TV room. We host unsheltered support groups and many other groups at the center weekly. We have dinners. So we provide a lot of services. We also do kind of case management, but more peer support type of things. I like to refer it as like life coaches, to work with unsheltered on things, developing the relationship with them and working with them on things to how to, once they get in the house, and how to sustain it. We also do a safe parking program, which starts at 7 p.m. and goes to 7 a.m. and where people asleep in their cars can actually come and have a safe place. They can actually come inside and use our restroom. It's staffed throughout the night. We have dinners for them in the evening. In the morning, we also provide a light breakfast, cereal. We have bagels, we have coffee, tea, different things for them in the morning. Oh, and also in the day center, I want to say we also have the computer access and the ability for them to use the phone and to receive mail. So those are those two programs, and each one within our safe parking program, we assign them with kind of a peer support, which helps them navigate to get into housing or a more long-term solution. So I provide the de-escalation training. That's one of the other programs that we do. And also coordinators for the FEMA trailers, where we house currently 5 individuals within the trailers. I think that's it.
And Joey, for people who aren't familiar with the de-escalation training, explain what that involves and who you're training, please.
Okay, so we with the de-escalation training, we train businesses, the business community, as well as the residential community within the city. So anybody that's wanting to know how to de-escalate a situation, how to interact with those who are experience mental health, and whether it's mental health due to substance abuse or whatever, but on how to interact with those while de-escalating it. Also, it's about building the community. That's our main focus, is how to build a community. And so that's our de-escalation training.
And so how would someone get in touch with Village of Love if they wanted to, either a business or a resident? How would they reach you?
Okay, I can put that in the chat. You can email us at info@thevillageoflove.com.
Okay, and then you talked about the shuttle, the van that will go around and actually pick up an unsheltered individual and bring them to the day center, but this is a voluntary interaction, correct?
Yes. So as far as, we can't make anyone get on the shuttle. So definitely, if it is voluntary. You know, we do provide it, and we try to provide a lot of services that they actually request and things that they like at the center to encourage them to come. So yes, it's definitely voluntary.
Thank you. And
you all will be seeing.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're having the next, I think within a week, we'll be having the shuttle wrapped red. So you will be seeing the big red shuttle. It's now black, but you'll be seeing, it'll be very visual. So we're doing that. I wanted that color. So as our unsheltered seeing it coming down the street, just in case they forgot, they can say, oh, there goes the shuttle. Let me get to the stop. So.
So do you have designated stops around the city? Yes. In addition to going to requested locations?
Yes.
That's great. So then, let's see what I also wanted to check on.
Madam Mayor, can I just say one thing?
Yeah, Officer Pete, please.
I didn't mean to leave Joey out earlier, but the Village of Love has been an absolutely invaluable resource for the city, and I can't overstate that enough. Joey's doing a great job out there, and it's been a great resource for our city.
Thank you. Thank you. Anna Bagtus and I don't know, Anna, the days just go by. I don't remember when it was, but we were at a presentation for mayors and city managers around Alameda County pre-COVID, because we were all in one room, and whoever our staff were who worked on homelessness issues. And there was a presentation from Village of Love, and I just remember turning to our city manager, Eric Levitt, and said, we need them. And I think, Anna, you were at a different end of the table, but we definitely huddled afterwards and said, we got to get them to come to Alameda. So, and a huge shout out to all of you. Anna is one of those people, I think maybe she has a clone, because she just seems to be everywhere at all times, kind of like the Energizer Bunny, getting things done. But as you can see, it takes a village. You have to work across so many different areas and that we are trying to do and trying to get better at. And I just want all of you to know that there are a lot of things that are possible if only we have the money. And so I like to say I am always dialing for dollars. So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, Lisa and Anna, were we on that meeting with Supervisor Chan's staff? It was yesterday. So we have some money. Hopefully we have some money. We will. Think positive. Back in November, the voters of Alameda County passed Measure W, which was a general sales tax increase to provide funding for homelessness programs throughout the county. The good news is it passed. The bad news is the Alameda County Taxpayers Association filed a lawsuit, so that just freezes the ability to disperse any of those funds. There's a little lag time before the funds are collected and dispersed. So that's tied up in the courts right now, but they think that from what the supervisor staff is saying, they think the lawsuit is weak. It doesn't have a good chance of success, and the Board of Supervisors is going to be asked to go ahead and collect those sales tax funds, just hold them like in an escrow account, but funding, because we made the case for all the things that we would like to have funded in the city of Alameda. And then just last night, I'm part of the East Bay division of the League of California Cities, so all the cities in Alameda and Contra Costa County. And we had our legislators well, it's usually our legislators' dinner, but it was bring your own dinner because it was all Zoom. But we did make our asks, among others, that we need more funding in the state budget for these kinds of programs. So Lisa Maxwell, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, simply feel lucky that I have these wonderful, dedicated folks who are doing such a great job. I think they've covered it very thoroughly, and it's exciting how many programs Anna's been able to put together that serve Alameda.
Thanks, Lisa. And I'm going to go over to Sarah Henry because she's collecting questions. Have we got questions, Sarah?
Yep, I've got a couple, and folks can
Okay.
continue to send them into
Sure.
the chat, and we'll get to them. But the first question asked, how are the police working in coordination with Village of Love at Alameda Point?
Pete, Matt, who wants to take that? Officer Pete? Go ahead and unmute.
Sorry, Zoom technicality here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I say it every time.
Joey could probably speak more to the specific intake process, but there is an intake process that they have to follow. But when I find people that are looking for somewhere to go, or they're living out of their car, I try and give them that direct referral over to the Village of Love, provide them with the address and location, and then the contact number for them to call and get set up with that. Hopefully that answers the question.
Joey, what would you add to that?
That's what I was gonna say, that they're awesome. They're very good at referring people and letting people know where we're at, because of course we don't have, Officer Larson come in contact with more people out there on the streets. And so when he refers them to us, that is so great, because it helps a lot. It helps a lot.
Thank you. Okay, Sarah, keep those questions coming.
Absolutely. So the next question is asking about the shuttle, Joey, that you talked about. And this person is asking if there are regular shuttle stops that the city or the Village of Love, or do you use regular shuttle stops, or is it simply best that somebody give them a call and let them know where they're at? How does that work?
Regular shuttle stops, and we will get a list out of where it's at. We really just had been giving them to the unsheltered, but we will get a list out at where these stops are located. But they're regular stops at designated times.
Great. Okay, next question. Could you share a little bit about how the day center is going, and then also about the safe parking, about how much use it's having?
Great question.
Okay, so it's going actually really well. We have a steady flow of guests that come in for our day center. They're actually there when we open our doors. They're standing there waiting to get in. So, they come in, we get them they have coffee and their morning breakfast, and we sit down, we do the groups. They've established a good relationship, a trusting relationship with the staff, which is really important, because in able to navigate them into services is first establishing that healthy relationship. So that's going great. And the safe parking is growing. The past week, we have more people come sign up. So that's going really good.
Okay.
And we actually had, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm going to finish.
We had a family that would come in, and we actually set up our conference room so they can do schooling. So, it's constantly growing, and as we see needs, we adjust around the needs to help the community.
Thank you. And you actually touched on something, Joey, that I was also going to say, that it's one of those situations I call hiding in plain sight, that we don't, certainly we see those encampments along Constitution Way. By the way, as we speak, I do believe that there's been cleanup efforts both in the site along Constitution and the one that's out closest to the entrance of the tube, because the city manager has been texting me this afternoon about that. But we don't see a lot of our unsheltered individuals like the ones who go about their business during the day but sleep in their cars overnight. And this includes families, as Joey just mentioned, families with children. And for all of you parents of school-age children out there, you know what a challenge this distance learning has been, and maybe, trying to share, internet, broadband connection, and just screen time when you're trying to do your work, your child's trying to do their work. And here are folks who live out of their cars. So that's wonderful that they could avail themselves of the conference room at the day center. But then we also wanted to be mindful of people having a safe place to sleep in their cars overnight while we're awaiting better solutions than sleeping in your car. And I had heard from women who talked about their fear of living in their car or truck, but of, you know, a vehicle being broken into, being sexually assaulted. It's happened. And so this is a way that, as Joey said, this is a protected area out at Alameda Point, access to bathrooms, hand washing. And right now you've probably heard about this Feed Alameda program where we are working to help our restaurants, our small restaurants, stay in business by paying them to provide 90 meals once a week at different restaurants chosen by a lottery. And among the recipients of those 90 meals are unsheltered individuals who would come to the Dine and Connect program every Monday of the month, residents of Midway Shelter, the residents of the FEMA trailers, and also the residents at the folks who stay out in the safe parking overnight program. So that had multiple benefits. And of course, Amanda and Anna and Lisa Maxwell were all part of making that happen, plus the generosity of you, the residents of Alameda. Anyway, Sarah, I know we've got more questions.
Yep. The next question is asking about the capacity, Joey, of those two programs, the day center and the safe parking. And then somebody else is asking about how the Village of Love is funded.
Okay, so the capacity now with COVID for the day center, we've dropped it down to about 8 at one time inside because we want to make sure it's safe for everyone. Everyone is able to social distance. We about that number. We do have where we take a lot of precautions. I work very closely with Alameda County Healthcare Services for the Homeless to make sure we're on top of everything during this pandemic, make sure we're operating as safely as possible. And the funding was, did you want to talk on that, Anna, or did you want me?
Yeah, let's send it over to Anna.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the funding comes from what I mentioned earlier, the Homeless Emergency Aid Program, HEAP. And this is a state funding that came about 2.5 years ago. It's one time for emergency immediate deployment of funds to really address some of the most critical and things that you can just like do right away. The day center and the safe parking took a little bit of time to actually get off the ground because the building where we operate the day center used to be an old fire training center, and it had a lot of structural issues that we need to fix before we can open. And but once that's opened, and then striping of the parking lot or all that, we opened officially. The contract started in July, and the actual opening the doors for services didn't start until August. And I want to share that. For the first 3 months of opening the day center, they served about 130 unduplicated individuals. The safe parking is still growing. The capacity is 20 cars per evening. So that's, and I know it's growing.
Thank you.
And I want to say,
yeah, you go ahead, Joy. No, you go.
I wanted to say on the inside, we do have, we set up things on the outside. We have a canopy. So we have a lot of people who like to sit outside. So although we have limited on the inside during one specific time, we do have a lot of people. We have a larger area outside where people like to sit out so they can social distance and be out in the air. And if it's a colder time, during the colder times, we do have the canopy set up. So we do, I didn't want to say we just have 8, but that's just on the indoors for COVID. On the outside, you can find 10 to 15 people.
So you've been discovered, which is a good thing, because whenever anyone comes to the day center, don't they register so you get them into the system so they can be connected with services?
Correct. We have a list of questions that we ask them. And yes, they go through a registration for the day center as well as safe parking. And then they're assigned to someone that does follow-ups, because we let them come up with tell them what plans, what would they like to do, what are some of their goals, and reading some of it is some things is connecting with family. And sometimes I get emotional reading through because of simple things. I want to get a job. I want to connect with family. I want little things like that. And we assign them with someone, and they track and see how their progress is coming along.
And then I'll throw one at you. I think I heard that there's a desire for some of the folks who come to the day center to maybe do some work around the area, around the property that they could use as a reference. Do you want to, you know what I'm talking about, Joe? Do you want to amplify on that?
Yes. So we do have some of our guests that like to do yard work, and they've worked on the lawn, and we had those, giving them stipends just to, because they really enjoy coming and beautifying it. And I tell them, this is your space, so come in and take, let's do it how you want to do it. And so so we've hired some of our not hired, but we've given stipends when they come in and beautify the area and add their touch to it.
And Anna, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that's great about having a day center is that people are connecting with each other as well. And as you know, for folks who are homeless, not having an address is a barrier to getting housing. It's a barrier to getting an ID. It's a barrier to clearing anything. And they can use the day center as an address so that we can get them house ready. When we help them apply for any kind of benefit, they can use that until they get stabilized and find their own space. So I think that's another incredible, incredibly important part of really helping people get off the streets and get them back on their feet.
Thanks, Anna. And just, I want to say it was Wednesday morning this week, Anna and I and Lois Butler, another member of Community Development, were on a League of California Cities webinar statewide. There were about 100 of us from all over the state, and the topic was homelessness and mental health issues. And early on, one of the questions that was asked was, is homelessness a function of mental health issues? So someone with mental health issues is more like, without good family support and other safety nets, is more likely to end up on the street? Or is it that people end up on the street and develop mental health issues because it's like a war zone out there? I mean, you think of all the things we take for granted, having a bathroom to use when we need it, where we're going to sleep safely at night, having something to eat when we're hungry. And the answer from the subject matter experts was, it's both. And so this is just, all the things Anna said and Joey said that are being provided are so important. Sarah, I know we've got more questions.
Yep, I have one last one for Joey, and then I have a couple, I think, for the police department. Joey, is the Village of Love accepting donations of blankets or warm clothes, personal hygiene products, that kind of stuff?
Yes, we definitely are.
So how can, where do people
They
drop
can
off?
bring it down to 431 Stardust Place, Alameda, California.
Great, 431 Stardust Place.
At particular hours and days, Joey?
Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
And are there particular things you need?
We can definitely use a lot more socks. Blankets we get a lot of requests for blankets, socks, t-shirts, underwear. Those things are definitely always needed.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next question, Mayor and folks from the police department, there seems to be a lot of trash around the homeless encampment near the Tube. What can we do about all the trash? Is there an initiative to clean up the trash, or can there be an incentive for the residents that live there to try to keep the area cleaner?
Hey, who wants to?
Take
Or
Who wants to
Anna?
unmute?
Before we got,
Yeah.
before we got on the call, I got a call from Lois Butler, our community development director of our division, and she said they've cleaned up the Posey tube today, and she said, "Do you want me to drive around and take a picture?" And so, so thank you, Officer Larson, yesterday, and our outreach team member, Austin Harbottle. We went to the encampment. We tagged the ones that we can basically haul out because we know they've been abandoned. That's one of the things that we need to make sure is that we don't just like take what we think is trash, because what we might think is trash is not trash, is property for folks. So we need to make sure before we clean up that all of the noticing and also verifying that they are indeed abandoned and they're trash that we can haul out. And we work really closely with Public Works on that. And so as of yesterday, you know, we did all the preliminary work to get it prepared, and then today Public Works did the cleanup. So so it should look much different. And we have trash bins there. We continue to monitor the area. We continue to work on outreach every single week. Officer Larson, our outreach team members from Operation Dignity are out there talking to folks, really working on connecting them to services. And one of the persons who's living there, hopefully today he got moved to a community cabin in Oakland. So.
Good news. So if I could ask Officer Larson, when you're talking to the folks with whom you've established a great rapport, as Anna told us, do you encourage them to use that dumpster that's out there in the one area? But tell us about your interactions.
Yes, they're encouraged to use it. It's always funny to see a good amount of trash around the outside of the dumpster. I don't know why that is. I mean, I think you kind of see that anywhere you go, regardless of the size of the trash can. But yeah, I can't really speak to the science behind the accumulation of trash. I still don't really understand that phenomenon. But I've been here on site at the tube since 10 o'clock this morning. I'm still here. And Public Works.
That's where you are, out in the field. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Public Works has been here. They're doing great. Aaron Smith got that arranged, and the resident in question is basically just waiting for his ride. And then
Wow.
then there should only, I don't know if they're going to be able to have enough space to get the rest of this today, but I think by next week sometime most of what you see on the north side of the tube will be gone. And there's about 4 or 5 people living on the south end of the overpass in tents, and that area was cleaned by Public Works on Tuesday.
Thanks, Officer Larson. Sarah, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just a follow up for Officer Larson. Somebody's asking if you could speak about the fires that have been happening at the encampments.
I mean, I can't really speak about them, not because it's confidential, but I don't really know. I responded to a fire out here on Tuesday or Wednesday night. I can't remember which night it was. Not sure how it started, but that was on the north end of the camp, and it was a derelict camp, and there was nobody there. So was it intentional? I'm not sure. Probably, but there's no suspect leads on that if it was intentional. And then there was the larger fire on the south end of the overpass, and I don't know if they've made any progress on that in terms of investigations.
Okay.
I can tell you, just speaking to that a little bit, that earlier, actually in the fall, I think, I just happened to be driving through the tube on one of those hot, windy days and noticed somebody was like barbecuing with this open flame, and oh my gosh, so I think my husband was driving, but I quickly called the city manager, texted him and said, this is not good. And then this was on Caltrans property, and that's always tricky because some of the property you see out there with encampments that belongs to Caltrans or belongs to Union Pacific Railroad or belongs to the city, and we're not allowed to do enforcement. We have some agreements with, I think, better ones with Caltrans and with UP, but we tried at that time to get Caltrans to just fence the area off and say, this is not a good place for people to stay. They're very sensitive because there's the Boise decision that we all have to abide by, that you can't just remove people. Sleeping out in the public is not a crime. And if you don't have a residential place to take them in your city, you can't just up and move them. And Caltrans has been sued for removing and destroying people's properties. So we didn't get a lot of cooperation there. And then I guess maybe this last fire was actually on city property, but I don't know anything more than Officer Larson does about that, except to say at the end of the day, we got to be providing better opportunities for people to live than under freeway overpasses or along the side of the road. And we're working on that too.
Joey, back to you. I have people here on Zoom and people on Facebook Live asking for opportunities to volunteer with your organization. So good news, and how can they do it?
We have the best, biggest hearted residents. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Yes, please, we love volunteers. You can, again, email us at info@thevillageoflove.com.
Great, that's perfect. Okay, and then maybe for Anna, I'm not sure, but how does, and maybe for the mayor, how does the city of Alameda and the county of Alameda work together? And this person's asking, doesn't the county run some of the programs that are here in the city of Alameda?
Anna, you want to take the first pass at that, and because she knows everything anyway.
So we work very closely with the county of Alameda, especially with the Alameda County Healthcare for the Homeless. And we do have partnerships with Healthcare for the Homeless contractors that are in Alameda, such as the Mobile Health Clinic. This is a big bus, basically, that parks one of our Dine and Connect churches when we serve dinners. Emmanuel Lutheran Church at the end of the month, of the last Monday of the month, they're there to provide, primary care, connecting folks to a PCP or a primary care physician, doing a lot of assessments, and they're also providing social services and case management. And then also, we just brought in a new program also from the Healthcare for the Homeless called the Street Team. And they work primarily with people who are at the encampment. So these are folks who are basically living on the streets. And again, it's very sort of mental health and medical based model where Trust Clinic is just outside of our tube. And if they can connect them to a primary care physician there, if they don't already have one, that's what they do. They build that trust to really get them to accept services and work with our outreach team. We really coordinate with them in terms of our outreach to the homeless population that are at the encampments. So those are some of the programs. And then the Project Room Key, you probably have heard of this project. This is the motel program where people who are at risk of getting COVID because of their medical condition or they're over 65, they go to these motels that are leased by the county. And we do have one motel here in Alameda. Unfortunately, they'll be closing down because the program is kind of winding down. The Marina Village Inn is one, the Project Room Key. We have several of our women homeless folks there at the Project Room Key at Marina Village, and also about 20-something people from Alameda at the initial phase of the Project Room Key got placed in motels in Oakland, the Radisson and other motels in Oakland with a Project Room Key. So really great partnership. We meet with them on a regular basis. We have ongoing sort of collaborative meetings, cities and the county. And I know the mayor also attends a lot of these meetings with the county. So.
And I'll just add to that, we have not given up acquiring the funds to enable us to purchase that property and use it for transitional housing. And just earlier today I was on my, I chair a statewide policy committee for the League of California Cities on Housing, Community, Economic Development, and we were getting an update on the latest budget and legislative updates from Sacramento. And I guess the governor has proposed in his budget that is just, working its way through the legislature, some pretty significant funding to supplement the Project Room Key. I guess it's Project Room Key transitioning to Project Home Key, because we're going to try to make more permanent, at least transitional housing where people can stay, avail themselves of services while they are finding their way to more permanent housing. So, and I will say, I think we work well with the county, the cities, the mayors of Alameda County. There's 14 cities, and the 14 mayors are all in agreement that we want to start getting more money directly to our cities rather than always having it have to pass through the county, because we know best what our needs are here on the ground. So we're in dialogue, as they say, with the county. And I mean, part of the problem is there's just never enough money to go around, but I'm hopeful that things are getting better in 2021, in part because there's a new administration in Washington that also understands these needs. So in the last 2 minutes that we have, but Sarah, were there any other questions that have come in?
Nope, that was it. We got them all.
Great. So the last 2 minutes that we have, I'm just going to go back out to our wonderful speaker panel. Captain McMullen, Officer Larson, are you still there? And yes, he is. There he is. This screen, you jump around. I know you're sitting still, but you jump around on my screen. Joey, Anna, I know Amanda had to probably leave us. Any last thoughts you want to leave people with? Who'd like to start?
I would like to thank Anna for all her hard work, and also thank you, Mayor, and the City of Alameda. Your commitment to helping our unsheltered residents is just amazing. And thank you, Officer Larson, for your wonderful service, your wonderful work. And Captain McMullen, thank you all, and for everybody that, this is wonderful. This is great. I'm excited.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Anna, yeah.
I just want to ditto what Joey said. I mean, as I said in beginning, this is really a whole village collaborative effort, and I want to thank the Alameda community, that Alameda Feed program. What an amazing contribution of the community. We set a goal, we exceeded that goal within the first week and a half, and then we set a higher goal, and then we exceeded that as well. And so that would enable our homeless population to receive an additional meal every Wednesday, probably until August. So
remind us, Anna, you're more up to date, I think, maybe you and Lisa, what has the public contributed so far?
I can tell you. Yeah, it's
Sarah's got it.
$41,500 so far. So
wow,
goes through the weekend.
Wow.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Yeah, and I want to say, because we've got a couple of members of APD, the very first dollars that came into this program were from the Alameda Police Officers Association. Then President Alan Kobayama, I know he's no longer the PRA president, but he texted and he said, we will buy the first 90 meals, so $2,250 from the POA, which then I leveraged to talk to the firefighters and say, hey, the police officers are putting in this. But, people have been very generous. Organizations, but also just everyday citizens. You have been so generous, wanting to help, and thank you, because it really is it's a double benefit, like a double rainbow, because we are not only helping these restaurants who are struggling keep staff on their payroll, keep jobs in place, but also helping people who wouldn't normally have a nourishing restaurant meal once a week to have that. And I'm so grateful. So thank you, Anna. How about you, Captain McMullen, Officer Larson? Last word.
I'll keep my comments brief, but I just want to echo some of the things that were already said. Anna doesn't get enough credit, neither does Joey or Peter Larson. They are out there every day. They're coordinating, they're sacrificing their time, their attention, their energy, their love for the community. And it not only is inspiring, but we appreciate them so much, because again, this used to be a law enforcement only thing, and now it is how it should be, which is a community involvement. And we just sincerely appreciate their work. And from me to Peter Larson, he's amazing. He's out in the ground every day, literally funneling all the information 24 hours, 7 days a week into these community outreach programs that are highly effective. So thank you, and thank you for having us today.
Thank you, Captain McMullen. Officer Larson, you get the last word.
I thank you very much for all the kind words. Yeah, I think that the takeaway from this is that it really is a collaborative effort from all these different entities with the city, the police department, the nonprofits, and it really just shows like what a community is capable of. And I'll go back to saying that, you know, I think that Alameda is an example for other cities on how it can be done. And, you know, the city's doing a great job. So I just want to say thank you and keep up the good work, everyone.
Thank you, Officer Larson. I want to thank all of you who joined us today. And then I will just add to this, it does take a village of love, as you can see, but also we have to look beyond what we can do in the immediate, the short run, and the near future to addressing the cause of homelessness and housing insecurity. We need more housing. We need to build more housing. We need to approve more housing. Yes, smaller homes, affordable homes. We need to say yes to that, because as I tell my statewide policy committee on a regular basis, if we don't do that as well, we are just stringing beads without a knot at the end. So let's look at what we can do in the immediate term, the not too distant future, but long term, we've got to also be working on solutions, because no one in our state of so much abundance and plenty and wealth should be sleeping in the bushes in their car and experiencing housing insecurity. But here in Alameda, we're going to do everything we can to address it. So thank you all for tuning in to learn more about what's happening. And please stay with the effort. Keep up with this new homelessness strategic plan and the other efforts, and let us hear from you, because you help us make informed decisions. And with that, take care, stay safe. I can never leave you without reminding you, masks until you get that vaccine and your second vaccine. This is your single best protection from COVID-19. It is still a very sobering reality out there. We're making progress. Governors, thank you, Officer Larson, for that visual, that the governor's moved us into the purple chair, but you still need to limit the time that you're out and about, maintain that 6 feet of social distance at least from those not in your household. Wear your mask whenever you leave home. COVID-19 is still out there, including these new, more contagious variants, but we are going to get through this together. Take care, stay safe, and we will see you next time. Thank you, all of you, our wonderful guests. You were awesome. Much appreciated. Bye. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Brilliant job as always.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.